my core reasoning against most flip-flops is that you have to keep your feet tensed to hold on to them. And that's why I think Pacific Avenue is such an important sandal, because you spend a lot of your life probably not running, but certainly walking around. And do you want your feet tense? Do you want to shuffle around? That's a horrible way to live and move. I think that it's a principle for pretty much most things in life, where I think I heard this saying at this one job I was at. It said, work quickly, but don't hurry. And it might be a similar type of principle, right? Because if you're hurrying, you're straining and you're stressing. You can only keep that up so long before you make a mistake. And all of us have been in that spot. If you're really straining and struggling, you're probably not doing it right. This is Josh from Shamma Sandals, and I'm a renegade.
Welcome to the RUNEGADE Podcast. I'm Todd, and with me is
Uncle Mark.
Each episode, we dare to explore that lost art of a conversation to better understand this thing that we call running, trail running, walking. But really what it's about is bringing us the greatest guests, the experts, the elites, the underdogs, those doers of big things to help us understand this thing that we love, running. And we're happy to share an episode with you.
Right. So thanks once again for all those who have written in, those that are liking the podcast, that are subscribing to the podcast on YouTube or all the other social medias, just interacting with us. Really enjoy chatting with each of you, and makes it fun, right? So continue to do that, and it'll help us continue to do this, right?
On this episode, we are thrilled to welcome back Josh Stiles, the visionary founder of Shamma Sandals, a Santa Cruz-based family-run company crafting minimalist sandals that redefine natural movement. Josh discovered his passion for barefoot running after a chance encounter with vibrant five figures at a softball game, sparking a journey that led to Shamma's inception in 2013. Inspired by the Tara Hibana's Huarache sandals and driven by a mission to create durable, high-performance footwear that strengthens your feet and looks great, Shama empowers runners, hikers, adventurers all across the world. In this episode, we dive into their game-changing Pacific Avenue sandal, their answer to the flip-flop craze. It's designed to be the perfect everyday sandal. Let's unpack more of the Shama story, and Josh shares some simple cues to help kickstart your sandal running journey.
Uncle Mark and the family has a new puppy. Was it 12 weeks old, 11 weeks old?
Even just over 10 right now. Yeah.
10 weeks.
10 weeks old.
And what's her name?
Lola. Lola joined us, little chocolate lab pup, English variety, so a little boxy head. Super cute, but super sassy.
Everyone forgets what puppies are like until you get a puppy. Uncle, after about 3 days, told me, he's like, we're trying to rehome her. I'm like, you're trying to rehome her after 3 days?
I know. And this eye twitch still hasn't gone away yet, so blame her for that one.
Well, thank God it's only the eye twitching. Whether you're out running in your Shamma sandals or out for a nice hike, you can enjoy an athletic, fancy like.
I like it.
Remember you having this one a few months back, so I went and ordered some. The discount code works. TODDM20, 20% off your order at Athletic Brewing.
Yum.
And this is Walker Hayes Fancy Like, a classic American pale. So
let me see if I
drink
can
it out of my ultra running mug.
Love it.
Do you hear that? That's Fancy Like.
Kind of, make those bubbles sound really good. They're making me thirsty. I am very excited about today. And Josh will be able to thank you in a couple minutes too as well. But look what I's got. Look at these things. Look at that grip. Pacific Avenue Shamas. We just got them this week, so I haven't had a chance, and the weather hasn't been that great outside, but I have worn them to barbecue. I have worn them around the house. I have worn them to run away from the pup, and they work, by golly, and they are comfortable. And what do you have over there, Todd?
Well, Josh hooked us both up. These are the brown Pacific Avenues. And what Josh shared with us is the Pacific Avenue is the Shama answer to the flip-flop, designed to be the perfect everyday sandal. And what's really cool about these, your foot can slide right in. You can do it without your hands, or you can hook it there. It's fantastic. It's got a Vibram sole. I think it's about 12 millimeters thick, so you still get that great ground feel. They look solid. The leather, you can tell this is high-grade leather, craftsmanship. These are made in the USA, folks. Josh and his team out in Santa Cruz, California, are putting the Shama love into footwear. And Josh is going to come on this episode to talk a little bit about the Pacific Avenues, help us understand what did the flip-flop do to Josh and Shama that they went to attack the flip-flop market. Watch out, flip-flops. They're coming for you. So we got to figure out what do you think they did? What did the flip-flops do to Josh?
I think they already got the flip-flops. They already are taking them down. I mean, these things are just they're great. Flip-flops are just wonderful things too. But these, I can throw them in my bag. I can put them in my backpack. They're just so thin, but so comfortable. I am just really looking forward to wearing these out this summer. But what did they do to flip-flops? I don't know. I feel like flip-flops, I don't know. What has flip-flops done for the world lately? Not much.
Well, other than
Shama.
You get that flip-flop sound.
The flippy-floppy.
Everyone who wears flip-flops ends up flopping. Like, you've seen the people, they hit a little bit of like wet concrete, wet floor, and out they go. They fall out. They roll an ankle. Something bad happens with flip-flops. So you think they're cool. They're not cool. You're going to get hurt.
No, you know what? That's happened to me. I've got flip-flops and I've got these Crocs that I, wear just around not the neighborhood, but like the yard when I'm just wanting to slip on something quickly. And if there's any kind of moisture or wetness on the garage floor, I go for a slide in those Crocs. So I don't think I would if they had a Vibram sole like these ones do. Vibram?
Yeah,
Vibram.
And look at the grips. The grips are nice. So if you're off on trails, you're going to feel stable. You're low to the ground. You got good traction. You look stylish. This is the answer to the flip-flop craze. And we're going to call it the Pacific Avenue craze. And we love Shama. And not only that, we're going to pick Josh's brain. I was looking back. He joined us on episode 6. And I think we called it Barefooting His Soul. Because Josh came in and he talked to us about the Shama story, how he got into the footwear, how he was making them outside on a small little shed with a little
lean-to, yeah,
little lean-to, and then he got a shop, and now they're brewing up all these great shoes, all these great minimalist footwear, and we're going to ask him a little bit about help us understand how we can transition to barefoot running, Shama running. What are the maybe 5 or 6 keys that Josh has found over his 10, 15 years here that he can offer to the audience? And Josh is here. Let's welcome Josh into the madness that we call the Renegade Podcast.
Yes, he's in his car again.
Yes.
Yeah. My really fancy studio. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you know what, Josh? I was thinking I was totally going to do this too. I was going to run a power cord with my microphone out to my car in hopes that you were going to dial in too. And then we could have had just conducted this inside the car instead of the studio here.
We went back. I think it was around March of last year we had you on. And I remember the sunlight was going down in your car.
It got dark.
And that's how we could. We got a little bit dark. That's how we knew how to wrap up the episodes. That was pretty fun.
That's good memory, man. Okay. Let's see if I don't get too much sun on me. There we go. Got my vitamin D for the day. My hair's all set. I did hair and makeup right before this.
Wonderful. It takes, it's hard to work it into the schedule, right? Between the hair, the makeup, just I do some stretches before we get into it too as well. So
you guys with hair, I feel for you. Like, I'm bald as an eagle, so I don't have any hair.
Well, this
less
is just
all the time. Less all the time.
No, every day, every shower.
It's unnerving. I don't know what is up with that, but it is. Well, when I was first, like when my hairs first started thinning in my like early 30s, man, it's really unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
Then you kind of get over it. But at first it's like, I don't know. But you're doing great, Mark. Look at you, man.
You know what? This is an optical illusion right now. It's just all I glue this on every morning and hope it sticks.
Mark has great hair.
It's I've passed the 40 threshold, or the I'm over on that side of it now, a couple years now past it, and I feel like each year it's like, yep,
It's
it
a
goes
gift.
right here. One day it'll just all,
I say my hair
That's
is
when
like
you start wearing hats.
my hair is like a duck blind. You can always see the hunter through there if you're not the duck.
Love it. Oh, that's fun.
And we got to thank you. We got the Pacific Avenues in the mail.
Oh,
We've been wearing
nice.
them.
So do you guys
Dynamite.
actually and truly like them?
I do.
Absolutely.
Yep. I was barbecuing the other day, and I sent Todd a pic. I was like, "Yep, got them on." That was the first night that I got these. Wanted to try them out, and they served me very well. So thank you so much.
Right on.
And I've been wearing mine for my evening walks and to go out. You know me, Josh. I got the Charger LEs. I got the Chargers. I got the Super Browns. I got the All Browns. But I like these just because you don't have to, like, now I know, Shama, how to set them up and everything. These ones, I didn't have to worry about it. I slipped my foot right in, got the heel all locked in there, and now they slide in and slide off. So I think you called these the flip-flop killer.
I'm just curious, is the podcast going? Like, we're happening? Sometimes I went on I had the good fortune of going on the Mark Bell Power Project years ago. And man, before the podcast started, I talked to those guys for like an hour and a half. And I felt like that was maybe the best conversation. And then it was being recorded,
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
and then I had to so as long as it's being recorded, that's fine. No, I'm happy to talk about whatever. I love this stuff. So yeah, it's just regarding the Pacific Avenue. I think that, at least I know for myself, the reason I got into this is because I was totally enamored with running. That was the big, siren song for me in terms of minimalism. I was only about 32, 30, maybe, no, I was maybe even 31 at the time. And, I've mentioned this before, but I was like playing softball and, just different sports and all that. And I just knew I was getting slower and fatter, and running was a harder thing to do. And then just the idea like, oh man, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my knees don't have to break down and all that. And like I could run. And I absolutely loved running. I still love it. We've been really busy, but I've been still managing to like knock out 20-ish miles a week.
Oh, good for you.
In my sandals. And that's kind of like the baseline. I want to at least do that. Just my schedule's so busy, but like if I could sell the business and do what I wanted with my life, I would spend a lot more time with my kids and I'd run a lot. That sounds good to me. Running like 40 miles a week would be great. Just out in the woods. Love it.
You know what?
Oh, go ahead.
I would 100% agree. I've thought of that. If I, won the lottery tomorrow, it would be doing activities, hanging out with the kids all the time, maybe get a larger property somewhere, just be out in nature.
Yeah, doing yard. I love yard work. Got my chainsaw, cutting down trees and kind of like, landscape and everything. And that's one of the joys of life.
Yeah.
Man in the garden. That's a pretty apt description of our joys of life. And so in any case, but I think this whole sector, the whole minimalist sector, was really born out of it was born out of Born to Run. I think most people would agree. That really started everything in motion, and it certainly was for me. And like all I could think was like, I just want to run, and I want to run in sandals. I'd love to be barefoot, but this is the closest I can be to barefoot. And so fast forward, I guess Shama's been going on since 2013, so like 12 years. I guess it was only 11 years at the time, 11, 12 years. And my daughter, one of my daughters, I've got 4 daughters. One of them was like not wearing my sandals anymore because she wanted her tan flip-flops. It's 2 things. It's like tan and a flip-flop, with the wider straps in the front. Like we're all used to, like I grew up wearing and everyone did, you've got your Reefs and your Rainbows and your Olokai and like all these like big brands that are out there that everyone wears. They're just ubiquitous with barbecues and just, for lack of a better term, derping around, just doing your little puttering around, doing your thing. And so, and then last year I was like, yeah, I want to like solve that problem. So I was trying to like take our Numa sandal and sort of reconfigure it, do it in tan or whatever. And then I was like, no, that's not what I want. I want a flip flop. But, and then so I'm like, I can do this. I figured it out. And then I, was like refining it. But probably almost a year ago in June, I was putting it together and I wore it all summer and I was like, I love it. It's really great. And I also did it in tan. And I think hopefully this isn't too controversial or whatever, but a lot of it like can come down to like your skin tone and trying to match your skin tone with your sandals or so what I'm saying is I don't think a very common thing in our sector, which is like adventure and sport, is having colors that are really like, skin toned or neutral colors, earth tones. Instead, a lot of it's like bright, like, hey, I'm going to, go biking or whatever you're going to do that's really active. And so anyways, this is just like, I think for a lot of people, and this is where most people are going to wear sandals and how you're going to be, even when you're a runner like ourselves, you're only running once a day, maybe twice, but most of the day you're just walking around. So
yeah,
this is kind of the answer to that.
Well, I imagine that these would look a lot different if they were in this color.
Yeah.
Right. So
the bright orange,
super bright orange or the neon. So I totally understand what you're saying there too, as well. That, I mean, I just love the look of them and all the care that went into designing these, and they are comfortable, and you have the elastic band on it too as well for just movement, and even with the toe thong part is comfortable. Like hopefully that's the term, if not, but you know what I mean? Like it's just the toe area. So in between, it's wonderful. So
thank you.
I've really enjoyed them so far, and I look forward to a nice long summer with them as well.
Awesome. Absolutely. Well, I think they even look better when they're on your feet too. Like that's one thing I've seen, some people will make videos and you see them on YouTube, and especially like our warrior sandals, the thinner sandals. I'll acknowledge that like when you just get it out of, this is something I wish I could tell everyone that buys a pair of them. Like you get it out of the box, and if it's like our warriors, it's like a 6 millimeter sole, stack height. It doesn't look good in my opinion. I mean, they look better than they used to because we've developed them so much, but it's not till it's on your foot and it starts to take shape that then you see like its true value. When it takes the shape of your foot and then moves seamlessly with your foot, then you have something that's really awesome. And that's kind of like where the sandals are designed for. They're not really designed to like show off, on a display stand. They're designed to show off once it's on your foot and has broken in. Anyways, it's one little thought.
Josh, going back to your story about wanting to make a sandal for her, Mark and I were wondering, what did the flip flop do to Shama that you went after him? We all liked the ease and simplicity of the flip flop.
Yes.
How do you go about inventing a new sandal? Like, how do you even do that? Like, what's the first step other than coming up with the target that you're looking for? Like, what do you do next?
Well, I'm not like a sandal inventor or a fashion designer person. I did a lot of construction. I've got a degree in marriage and family therapy, a master's in biblical theology. I've studied things like that, but I was not, I'm not really, somebody that deals in fashion very much. But then I found myself doing this. And what I've always done is I've tried to, solve problems for one. And, when I originally started with my sandals, our first one, basically it was like a big hurdle. It was like, okay, well, how do I get the material to make the sole, right? Which was Vibram Morflex, which we still sell to this day on our Chargers and Cruisers and Super Browns and All Browns. So I was able to find a supply where I could buy it. And then after that, it was like, well, I have this leather strap. I'm just tying it around my foot, but that doesn't work very well. And so how do you gather it? And so on our classics are very similar to the original sandal that we had, which is like basically what everyone's doing, just a slip-on Huarache style of tie method, except instead of tying, it goes through a buckle. And then I figured out how to make a toe plug. And that was a big step because when I had originally had the sandals, I had this other company that's famous, right, Luna, and their early version of the Equus, it was just a piece of material and this leather covered a piece of elastic that you tie a knot underneath the underneath the toe. And for me, one time I was walking around the county fair and that knot would burn out like every 30 miles, 40 miles. And you never knew where it was going to burn out, right? And then I'm at the fair walking around, there's animals and people and spit and all that. And then I had to like I didn't have anything to tear the end so you can tie a knot. So I was like using my teeth, like trying to, split the end so I'd have a knot, or could tie a knot. Anyways, so like I was just solving that problem at the time. And then over the years, I've just kind of taken each aspect of the sandal as it came along. I went on a run about a mile from where I'm at right now, 2 miles from where I'm at. And I was walking back through the parking lot and I found it was a sternum strap adjuster. It's like what you'd get on a backpack. And it's just kind of like a T. And so you've got a slip lock on one side and then you've got a loop to do the adjustment. And I'm like, and I'd thought about it before, but it was almost like confirmation. I saw this part in the ground. Some hiker had dropped it. And I'm like, that's what I need to put on my sandal. And that was a very early version of the same buckle that you have on the Super Browns and Super Goats. That was our first buckle. And so then I just took that basic concept and I optimized it for our material. And the good people at Duraflex helped me kind of like finish it out. And I think it's great. And then we went on to do other versions since then. And but that's kind of what I saw. And then, like, okay, I've got the front of the sandal adjustable and I'm not having to tie a knot in the bottom all the time. And so then it was like, well, how do I get the heel straps to stay up? And then one principle I've always had, and this is for construction too, if you spend the time, doing a good job getting your foundation leveled, make sure everything's good at the foundation level when you're building, well, then the next phase is going to be easier because now you're not trying to solve for a level foundation, right? Everything's level. You can throw away the level and other equipment and use that less often. And the further you go, the easier it gets. And so that's kind of how I felt about it. When I came up with the Elite lacing system, we built these posts and it took a couple of years to get the actual TPU posts that we have now to get those finalized. We made them with, in the same way we made our current toe plugs. And then we do all this sewing to build up this post. It's a ton of work for a couple years. My father-in-law who makes the toe plugs, it almost broke him because we went from like 2 plugs per sandal to 6 plugs per pair,
Oh, yeah.
And
you got to work more hours in a day.
he was like, I can't do this much longer. Unfortunately, we got the new part. But I knew when we made that part, I'm like, oh, this is going to be, at some point, I knew I would take the Y and I'd be able to put it on both sides and make the trail star. And then, we used a lot of the same components basically for Numa. And then basically I wanted to incorporate those same elements into Pacific Avenue. I was able to take what I think is a really good foundation, modular foundation, and just kind of expand on it. So
wow.
That's what I've been doing.
I want to go back, Mark. I want to go back to something, because every guest that we've had on, Josh, talks about this like kind of event that happens, a serendipitous event. So you were on a trail and you saw this buckle and you're like, could this have been the world putting the buckle on the ground for you, that, you've been thinking about this in your brain, and all of a sudden you see it there and it solved the problem you needed?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's the world or my own silliness, but yeah, I think that maybe there's, look, I'm somebody that believes in God, and I don't know that if he put that there for me or what, but we should all listen more, be a little more attentive to what's going on around us, and trust the spirit is what I'll say.
I was going to say it was either that buckle that was there, or it was this animal spit that you're talking of at the fair that really... I didn't realize that was a hazard that I had to be aware of, but there is a fair here in Chatham this coming week, so I'll be sure to keep my eye out and then maybe look for a buckle after.
If they break, honestly, you should just walk out barefoot. That's probably the best thing for you. But yeah, that was probably like 4 years in between those two events. Chewing on the strap at the fair and finding the buckle in the parking lot after a run. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, ideas just hit, and, there's always lots of ideas, and you got to sift through which ones are good and which ones are bad. But there have been different times when ideas have hit, and it's like you need to really go after it when it's there. For whatever reason, the motivation and the timing. And so for me, like with, again, like with the elite lacing system, I was like, this is going to be a big deal, I think. I mean, in my life, for a lot of people, they don't even know who I am or what I'm doing. And so, but a big deal for me and our product. But when I did it, I was like, this is going to have, far-reaching ramifications. And so I was like, this is an important piece that I'm developing at the time. And yeah, and there's going to be some positives in the future. You're not sure what they're going to be yet, but they're out there.
Renegades, strap in for a gear drop that's going to supercharge your running and style. We are stoked to spotlight Path Project's latest apparel, built for runners who live for the grind and want to look damn good doing it. First up, the James Peak shirt, a trail-ready beast with Toray Air Prime Flex fabric. It's crazy breathable, sweat-slaying, and stretchy, keeping you fresh from the sunrise sprints to those post-run hangouts. Next, the Fortuna Hybrid short. This is your do-it-all wingman, crafted with Delta Weave, recycled nylon and spandex. These water-resistant, quick-drying shorts are perfect for the run, swims, or just chillin', with slick pockets for your essentials. And don't you sleep on their famous Graves PX running short, re-engineered with feather-light Prime Flex fabric and secure pocketing. They're built for crushing all your miles. Founded in 2018, Path Projects delivers runner-first gear with soul. Check them out at pathprojects.com. Make 2025 your fiercest running year yet. And thank you to Path Projects. You can use the code TRP10 for 10% off your order for a limited time. So check them out.
That's awesome. And so I was thinking about when these the toe plugs, you were speaking about them a little bit earlier on there. Like, is that just like, is it a plastic mold? Are you able to 3D print them at some point in time in the future? Like how or is that like a trade secret? How these toe plugs, that's really the root of it all, right? It's the anchor point.
It's not a trades. How many people listen to your guys' podcast, by the way? I'm just curious.
Hundreds of millions.
Dozens.
Dozens. Okay.
We
Well,
should have coordinated that earlier. Todd.
that's a joke we've used for years. Yeah. Tens of people's wearing the Shamma sandals. It's a lot more than that now. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think how big it's gotten compared to where it started, but it's still so tiny. But yeah, you can go and look on our Instagram. My father-in-law, we just built this plate. It's like a stand with a plate on it, and you just pull the webbing up through the hole in the plate, and then he takes a heat gun, gets it, molten, squishes it down, lifts it up, cuts it off. Yeah, he's done that like hundreds of thousands of times. It's pretty amazing. Oops, I gotta turn my phone off. I apologize for that.
Okay.
No worries. No worries.
It's an order. It's an order coming through.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, that's how we've been doing it. We actually show it on Instagram. If you go through our feed somewhere, it's in there.
Cool. No, I'll definitely check
And
it
on
out.
YouTube.
I was looking at your feed, and I remember last time we were talking to you, I think I remember you were trying to hurry up to get an order out to Germany, and just recently you sent a big order out to Japan. So
yes,
the Shama love is spreading across the world.
It's been around the world for a long time. It's the craziest thing to me. Since we started, there have been international orders. A Christian who is our distributor at Go Free Concepts in Europe, he's been great, and we've been selling with them probably since 2018, I want to say, and tens of thousands of sandals to Europe over the years. And yeah, and even before that, I remember this one customer in Japan. He probably bought like 7 or 8 pairs one year, or for a couple years. He was just always in the processing feeds. So I think that there's no way without the internet this business would have worked. It would, in my county or state, no one would have heard about us or anything like that. But because of the internet, there's enough of us out there to keep it going.
Awesome.
You're bang on. I think it's like once you have a great idea and then you can amplify the idea. That's the power, the positive power of the internet and social media.
Yes,
there's
the
lots
positive.
of negatives about it. But it's what you put out there. So if you're putting out positive content, you'll attract that positive reception on it. I was thinking about this. You mentioned about like how your designs and how you iterated and arrived. What's something that you tried that completely flopped from like an innovation?
Or flipped.
This is going to be it. Or flipped.
Oh.
But,
well, yeah, flipped and flopped. Well, the first sandal my father-in-law ever made me, it was absolutely terrible. And he made it for me, so I guess I can blame him. But he was just, the material wasn't right, and it was all paracord, and it was just so loosely on the foot. I'm like, this is a terrible idea. I went to Vibram 5 Fingers KSOs, which I loved, and then I went on to the Merrell Trail Glove before I came back to sandals with some Lunas, and this was like 2011, I think, when I was doing that. But I think probably haven't had a major failure yet in terms of a sandal that we've released. On the development side, one that was, and mistakes they're not bad as long as you're learning from it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I got 2 mistakes. So the biggest flop from a sandal design side, I tried to make, originally I was thinking instead of Trail Star, which is our over the toe lacing, over the foot lacing, the original idea was to have like a toe loop that was just kind of an addition to the Elite lacing system. And I tried that for probably 2018 and 19, and it didn't work. I didn't have the right, sometimes it's like you have a good idea, but you really don't have the technology yet or the piece components to pull it off. And with that one, it just was too harsh. It kind of bit on the big toe and all that. I was trying to use webbing and things like that. It didn't work, but I took it back up again in earnest in 2020. Like literally right before the pandemic, we went to Yosemite with my family. We stayed in this little cabin on the southern side of Yosemite, and there was this picture of these people, and they had hiked and they'd hit some plateau, and they had been hiking all day or whatever, and it was this really gorgeous scene. But if you look down on their feet, they just had the biggest, fattest, ugliest, like geariest sandals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they were like the kind that it looked like a shoe that they cut out some pieces on the side so they can call it a sandal. And I'm like, this is so lame. Like, why do we have such bad gear in the hiking realm? So, so we need a minimalist option for that. So I went back and I redoubled my efforts and came up with Trail Star. And even Trail Star, I could tell you about, like, there's probably been like 4 or 5 like pretty big changes on it over since we introduced it. It's been a tough one to like get pinned down exactly, but I'm really happy with where it's gone. We started, for instance, with hook and loop over the top of the foot. The problem with that is you don't have very much adjustment, and people's feet are extremely varied. So we had to start sending people like different straps because there wasn't long enough or was too short or whatever to get the hook and loop to hit in just the right spot on the top of the foot. And so we'd offer like 3 different sizes, and that didn't work. And then finally we ended up with, we'd use a tension lock and just ditch the hook and loop altogether. And then the customer now like trims it to fit when they get it, which has been working out like so much better. And then we even found last year, and we started using it this fall. Well, so couple things. Then we switched to a tension lock. It wasn't our own, and now we have our own custom tension lock buckle that we use with it. That also goes on Numa. We added, we found a new forefoot strap material that's like a single piece. We were having our own stuff made, where we were taking like 2 pieces of ultra suede and we were bonding them on some nylon scrim in order to get what we wanted. And now we were able to find a different material that works. It's also ultra suede, but a different one that we can just cut it straight. It's a little softer, a little more comfortable. With Trail Star Ibex, we have some new sole anchors. We have these, we've actually been printing those digitally, but eventually they're going to be done on a mold, probably by the fall. And then probably once we get that mold done, we're going to bring those sole anchors over to the rest of the Trail Star line eventually. They're, just more durable. They sit flatter and this and that. So there've been a lot of changes to Trail Star. It still kind of looks very similar, but lots of changes. And so, we've had to bootstrap a lot of stuff.
Literally
and get very creative to pull stuff off. But just because you're not there 100% doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a try, I guess.
I can only imagine the number of prototypes you've had over the years, right? You must have a whole room full of them.
I have like a pile of trashed sandals.
Graveyard.
That she throws away a lot. But I've held on to some of them. Some of them are more important than others. I guess I'm more nostalgic about.
Mm-hmm.
But and usually the thing is, like, I have a lot of different ones, but the changes have been so small in a lot of cases, where the person looking from the outside would be like, what's the difference? But I'm just trying to test, how does this one little piece feel on my foot as opposed to that? And is the grip slightly better on this or that? So, but yeah, usually my sandals they're very rarely like, both of them are a matching pair. It's very uncommon for me. So I'm usually running around in the crappiest sandals I have.
It's what I found over my years of when I transitioned into the running sandal, and folks always want to see, how did you do it? How did you transition? because they really think it's a lot more complicated and a lot more difficult than they make it out to be. And I think sometimes that's why a lot of folks kind of avoid it. But once you start running in sandals, they're so much fun. Like, they are fun. You get that connection with the ground. You have to pay attention a little bit more, like be connected with everything. And it's fantastic. But some folks are really afraid of that. And I know on your YouTube, Josh, you got some great videos of like how to run in sandals. And I thought, you know what have you learned, or what do you recommend over the years of how do you tell someone brand new, interested in running in a sandal, how to run in a sandal?
Well, I think the best advice I've had, or gosh, it's like, I've been in like these different phases of life. Because when I started, this is all I talked about was like, you got to run in, barefoot or sandals or whatever. And I still believe it, but I feel like I don't try as much as I used to convince people. And in those videos, I think were like, that was right in the middle of the pandemic. I was doing those. In any case, so those are kind of fond memories. I love this. I'll sound terrible, but I kind of loved the pandemic because we just, we had our own little bubble at Shama, and we were living life pretty free and easy. And then so I look back on it. I had like more time for my kids, and we went on some great vacations and stuff like that. But anyways, and I was making those videos. So with that, I really think I encourage people I want people to have their own evidence that it works.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can give somebody any number of statistics or logical reasoning or whatever, and they look at you like you're crazy. But I would tell people, like, the first thing I was always saying to people is like, look, what do you do when you get home? What's the first thing you do? And a lot of people are like, I take my shoes off, and I get in the house and I go, well, do you walk around on a hardwood floor or marble? And they're like, yeah, barefoot. Yeah. Well, does it hurt? They're like, no. Well, why doesn't it hurt? I mean, you should be asking yourself why a lot in life. Why does this happen or that not happen? And, most people, like, for instance, I'll ask them, well, do you even know why you have an arch? Most people have no clue. They've never thought about it. This like actual pretty noticeable structure on your foot. Like, it's a structure of muscles, tendons, ligaments, and bones, and it's there to compress with each step. It's a leaf spring on the bottom of your foot. You compress a spring, you've got energy. Now, what do you do with it? Where does it go? It's got to go out your big toe. Here's another test. If it goes out and off your second toe or third toe, you get something called Morton's toe. You get an aroma under the where the joint meets the metatarsal. So those are like little individual proofs of like that your foot functions, and it functions without a shoe. In fact, it's not meant to function with a shoe on. And then, I go, well, how many people do you know with a deformed thumb? They're like, not too many. I don't know. How many people do you know with a deformed big toe? A lot. It's a lot of people with bunions. So, like, I can't prove any of these things, but they're pretty self-evident, and we have to think for a moment. I think I'm somebody that loves science, but at some point, a human's job is to step past pure information and to assign meaning. And that's actually something that humans do that science can't do in and of itself. And I think probably the only thing that, something that completely separates us from every other, form of life is ascribing meaning to something. So then the next thing I would say is like, well, it doesn't hurt. Why doesn't it hurt? Because basically when you're walking on tile or hardwood floor, it does not hurt because you need less impact. So the reason you don't push in as hard, you don't hit as hard because you don't need to. So your body, until you find something firm, it feels like it's falling. So it's still like trying to find the ground. Well, once you found something firm, it's like, okay, I can lift up again. And so we have just incredibly quick is it proprioception? I don't know if I'm getting the term right, of the ground. And we're able to just like, all the amazing things that humans can do, the way we can walk and move. I really think like fish swim in the sea, birds fly in the air, and humans move across the ground in the same way. It's and like, what did we do? We like cut off that beautiful movement that we have with shoes. But so the next thing I would say, if you want to actually like take that up, if you actually believe that and you want to like explore that, then I think the best place for you is barefoot, completely barefoot on hard concrete, like real, like smooth, clean concrete, not too hot, no more than a mile. And you got to go slow. And at first you're going to be like kind of stiff and hitting it a little too hard. And then within a half mile, once you kind of relax a minute, then all of a sudden your brain, as long as you just kind of stay tall, your brain will just like stop tweaking and just relax. And all of a sudden you'll be padding on the ground really soft. And then you should be like, why don't my knees hurt? Why is this the best my knees have ever felt when I've run, or my feet, my ankles? Because, you've totally eliminated, almost entirely eliminated ground impact forces. And instead of the initial jarring spike and then the rebound as you push fully and then decline as you lift off, now what you've done is you've taken it and turned it into one long curve of ground reaction forces. So there's some science to back it up, but you gotta do it on your own. Mentally, and then you gotta say, well, I don't mind looking a little different than everyone else.
I'm thinking over here, like I have right now one sock on and one of your sandals on the other one, and I'm like, do I have bunions now? Like what's happening? I'm wearing like dress shoes all day long.
That toe is all messed up. Come on, let's see it.
I know, but you know what? Like I need to get a second camera here to.
I might have said this before. It was probably like 2017, 2018. I was running a lot. First got into running, got fitted with the conventional running shoes that were always too small because I like the form fitting. I don't know why. Well, I started looking at my big toe, and yeah, for sure, it started to move towards the second toe. And when I went to see Dr. Mark, our friend down in West Virginia, two of his treads, he was like, we got to get this big toe fixed, and gave me the toe exercises and whatnot. And I'm serious. You look at your foot nowadays, it doesn't look like anything else because the toes move independently. And it gives it like a different feeling. And what I find the difference between running in the sandals versus running the shoes. So I probably do about 20 kilometers a week in sandals, and the rest I will do in different types of shoes. But I find my feet and I feel more awake and alive after a barefoot run. I think it's just because you get more sensation. Like you can feel the ground.
You're stimulated.
The sole just lights up, and that has an effect across the entire body. That's just my observation. No science behind that either. But
well, I think you're 100% right, and I think the big thing is that we cut off. That, like, I can't tell you the exact. I mean, and some of these things are like there's so much going on with our movement that it's almost there's just too much information. But I've noticed a similar phenomenon. And what I think it is it just, you start engaging probably your arch and your big toe. And the big toe starts like now, instead of being dead or squished to the inside of to the center of your foot, it's pointed the right direction, and it's grabbing and it's moving. And I think that one thing that's not considered often is, so I don't know if I've said this on your podcast. I apologize if I've done it before, but I played a lot of baseball and a lot of backyard football too. And I love to throw things. It's like, I think it's one of my talents is I actually got a pretty good arm. I got long arms, not the thickest wrist, but I can really snap the ball. But if you think about it, a lot of the way a human's built is we have these mirrored components like arms and legs, right? they're kind of in opposition and they're somewhat mirrors of each other. Well, when you think about like what the fingers do, they're hard little tiny muscles in there and just some tendons, and they're not very impressive compared to the biceps and triceps and all that. But when you add the snap of the fingers at the end of your throw, I mean, you're adding tremendous velocity. I don't know what the actual mathematics are on it, but think of a trebuchet. If you watch Lord of the Rings, they got all these arms, and that final little one snaps over as they're going after Minas Tirith and breaking down the wall. Well, that final snap is like the snap of a whip, and it's just a compound lever. So if you cut out your big toe and your arch, well, you're cutting out the fingers and the hand out of your throw, except now it's on the foot and it's with each snap. I mean, how hard would it be to throw a ball if you didn't have a hand?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. So I think that what you're experiencing is like reconnection with that critical, not only it's just as important as the other 80% of the leg, right? Or 90% of the leg. Yeah. So that's my thought on that.
Now, do you think you will ever have a Minas Tirith sandal in the future? Will that be a name that you use?
Okay. No, but we definitely, like so many other people before us, have considered the name Chilbo Baggins for something relaxed.
Chilbo. Love it.
Love it.
Something else for the... sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Mark. We're going to repeat. No, I was going to say, for the folks I've talked to who ask questions about, the transition to start barefoot running, there's a couple things that I learned over time that just helped me, like 2 or 3 little things. You mentioned it there about just running tall, and absolutely, like running tall so you're not crunched down, like run proud, run. Lawrence Van Lingen, our friend, says run with your heart, but it's still like to lengthen a little bit. I found that really amazing. The second one that you've talked about before on your YouTubes and whatnot is the relax. And I think this kind of scares people because you don't relax in a pair of running shoes. Like you're kind of like got that foot, the ankle, everything ready to like spring off again. But it's really the relax, which is really let the foot be a foot. Like, what do you think about the relax?
I think relaxing is one of the most important things there could be, just not just to running, but in life. That's like my core reasoning against most flip-flops is that you have to keep your feet tensed to hold on to them. And that's why I think Pacific Avenue is such an important sandal, because you spend a lot of your life, probably not running, but certainly walking around. And do you want your feet tensed? Do you want to shuffle around? That's a horrible way to live and move. I think that it's a principle for pretty much most things in life, where I think I heard this saying at this one job I was at. It said, work quickly, but don't hurry. And it might be a similar type of principle, right? Because if you're hurrying, you're straining and you're stressing. You can only keep that up so long before you make a mistake. And all of us have been in that spot. I think always back to construction. I did lots of construction. And if you're really straining and struggling, you're probably not doing it right. You probably don't understand the technique. You probably need more, patience and to rethink it. In baseball, when you hit a home run or your best hit, you're not swinging 100%. You never are. And that's kind of the thing that kills you, because you swing it like 85 or 90 and you hit the ball over the fence and it feels so good. You're like, oh man. So the next at bat, you're like, if I hit it, just swing just a little harder, that'll do it. And then you pop the ball up because you're overdoing it. So, I think relaxing is, it's not like slumped over. It's like you said, not even proud. It's just like strong and confident. I think that's an important way to be in life. I think our whole our whole physiology is like requires it for us to be healthy. stand up tall. I mean, think how much trouble we've put ourselves in just looking over at our cell phones, and we're like hanging our big heavy heads, off of the structure instead of supporting it easily.
That's a really good point.
Similar thing with running.
I have to address this too. You mentioned our resident doctor earlier, Dr. Kikazella, and he is a podcast favorite here, and we've got tons of fan mail about him all the time. So what I wanted to know though is, do you have any kind of other favorite customer stories from last year since we last talked, of just other people or maybe other folks that are endorsing your product and they just had to tell you how wonderful it is? So something that you read and you're like, you know what, I'm doing such a wonderful thing here.
Well, I think like the person that I actually, there's a few people that really like the sandals that I think are they're kind of a big deal. I don't want to diminish any of them by mentioning them or whatever, say kind of a big deal, but
Ron Burgundy. Just kidding.
Yeah, Ron Burgundy. I'm kind of a big deal. So I think Mark Bell, he gets caught wearing the sandals and he sells them on his website. I sent him a pair recently for this summer, and so also his co-host Nasima loves them, and so that's really cool affirmation. This gentleman that sought us out last year, in 2023, the end of 23, Matt Graham. I don't know if you guys have heard of Matt Graham. You should check him out. He does like survival training type stuff. He was the host of Dual Survivor on NBC for a few years.
Oh, wow.
And I've sent him a ton of sandals. He loves them, and he's always got special little requests. And so he's kind of an ambassador, and I'm honored because the guy is legit and he'll run big distances. And so I have a lot of respect for him. And by the way, he probably doesn't want you to know this, but he's a super good dude. He's a great guy, really, really kind spirit. And he's been a friend. So I really appreciate Matt. And then he has friends through this school. And then there's this lady, her name's Eva Zubek. And she went down to the Copper Canyons this last year. She works with the Discovery Channel or National Geographic. And she went down there and she was wearing our sandals, and then the Tarahumara made her sandals. And she ran the marathon in the Tarahumara sandals, except at the end you could see she'd put ours back on and was wearing ours again. So I was proud of that. But yeah, and then I think probably just all the customers that reach out and they have kind words. We mentioned earlier how tough the internet can be, and it could also be great too. It's a double-edged sword. So there's a lot of customers that really encourage me because they enjoy the sandals. You guys, I'm honored that you guys like them. I'm just, a fan like you guys.
We love them. So, me, Josh, I try to tag in my Instagram when I'm around the world. We just came back from London and Paris, and we were going to Stonehenge, and I got my sandals on, my Super Browns, and that's all I brought. Like, I brought my running shoes to run the marathon. I debated to run London in the sandals, but I'm like, I has a free pair from Ultra. I'm like, I'm going to run my Ultras, and but I have my Super Brands for everywhere else. So as we're going into Stonehenge, I'm like, I got to get some great shots for Josh. I'll be hanging out by Stonehenge, and I took a lot of great photos. But on the bus to the Stonehenge, they're like, we allow photos, but you can't use them for marketing material. So I'm like nodding my head, and I'm like, I'm taking as many photos as possible. So Stonehenge, I apologize. I'm going to send them to Josh because there are some pretty cool shots of the shoes by the Stonehenge, because the prehistoric or the Neolithic. I was trying to sit there and feel the vibe. Like, were they wearing sandals? And I was thinking about this because we went to a lot of museums. My daughter's in archaeology. We went to the British National Museum, you name it, all the statues from 2,000, 3,000 years ago. This is reconnaissance. You can look at it and say, what were on their feet? Oh, that's how they held their sandal on their foot. It's some good reconnaissance.
Yeah, and there's actually, I think they've got some sandals or some shoes this guy was wearing, I think it might have been that there was some body they found in Switzerland I think it was Switzerland, and some like Stone Age guy or whatever, and he had, forgive me for like massacring the time periods, I don't know, Stone Age or whatever, a long time ago. And he's running around Europe, I think in like a leather moccasin type thing with grass inside the, as his footbed. And apparently they would have been really comfortable, and the guy cruised around everywhere. So yeah, we've been doing this kind of thing for a long time.
That's wild.
I like the one name that you had, the Jerusalem Cruiser. I always loved that name. That was like yes, I love that. That was a great name.
When I started it, my brother, his friend, and they were like just probably getting into high school. Yeah, they were in high school at the time. But I was up at my parents' house, and I was like visiting them, and I was wearing my sandals, and my brother drove up with one of his friends, and I'll just give a shout out to Bryce LeBlanc. And he's like, "Hey, Josh, where can I get a pair of those sweet Jerusalem Cruisers?" And so I'm like, "That's a perfect name. Okay, we're doing it." So we dropped that name after we got a little more serious, and it was like, hey, we're actually selling sandals, and I don't know what people are going to think of this name. But we brought the name back a little bit in our cruisers, sort of a nod to the original ones, and it's updated a little bit, Cruzers, as in Santa Cruz, but sort of, it's an homage to the original name. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Well, I know I've put thousands and thousands of miles on them, and the feet have never been stronger. I do not like up to like a marathon distance. I got no problem. It's taken about 3-4 years to build to that. And I would say for me, like the largest like nugget for our listeners, if you're thinking about getting into it, where I had the hardest spot to transition is I was thinking too much when I was running. And when I was thinking too much, I was running, the sandal moved around a little bit on my foot. And then it would just take a little bit of time to harden up, to get a little bit of a blister resistant. But then that was, once you did that, then it never comes back. But then I thought about it more, and it used to be every springtime, get through the winter, go for my first couple runs, I would get that little bit of a blister back. But I always would be thinking way too much about how's my foot landing? How's my foot landing? And then after our last conversation, I thought, hey, I'm just going to stop thinking about this. And now I don't have that. I don't have that problem anymore. So stop thinking about, we're thinking too much when we run.
I think you're right about that, though. That's relaxing. I mean, it's not just it becomes a physical manifestation of, your anxiety, your inside, I guess, and
I'm an anxious guy, Josh. He knows me. We've seen each other virtually. I got to come out to Santa Cruz to check you out. And you'd be like, hey, Todd, you got to relax a little bit.
Oh man, I'm such an anxious person too. It's silly. But yeah, I think you're right about that. And I think the most important thing again is if you're staying tall enough, or you're not straining, but you're like at a comfortable, this is my height, and then you can relax, everything else kind of falls into place. And maybe another thing to think about is like, imagine if you had a marionette, you think of like, Pinocchio or something. And if you were Stromboli, I think is his name. And if you had Pinocchio really low, there's not much room for the legs to move around. They'd kind of get squished and cramped. Well, if you pull them up high enough, then you can move it around, and there's going to be enough room for it to track. And so the more you're too low or too high, that they're going to get outside of their natural path. And so you'll see some people do things like they flip their foot, like they're running and like one of their feet will flip kind of the outside or whatever. Well, that just means there's not enough clearance at the bottom. They're making room for their foot. It's leaking out to the side because there's nowhere for it to go. So they need to stand a little taller. But all those things that kind of like basically come from just standing tall enough, relaxing, and then there's not room for it to go left or right. I mean, you can still make mistakes. Obviously, there's a million mistakes to make, but you just want to essentially set yourself up for success and let the body do what it's great at.
Yeah, I was going to suggest just winter sandals for Todd. Keep it going all year round, and keep keep the feet
I wish
strong.
I could.
Those are Canadian jokes. Those are definitely Canadian jokes.
Don't get soft, Todd.
We only have like, I don't think there's a single month here you can't run in the sandals. So,
well, same here.
That's
depending
my
on the person you are,
goal.
right?
My retirement goal is to go somewhere where I can wear sandals all year round. But in the wintertime, I just pair them up with the exoskin socks or the Injinjin socks, and out we go. And it's actually pretty good. We wish we could wear them to work.
What's the lowest temperature you would run in the sandals in?
You know what? Last year I went out, I think it was 15 Fahrenheit. And it was a nice cool day. It was like I just put them on with the socks and out I went. But usually about Fahrenheit. December, mid-December, I'll switch over to my running shoes for the winter for the most part. Because when the snow starts and gets on the ground, then you get the soakers and whatnot. And
oh yeah, well that's impressive, Todd. I did run I went to Edinburgh with my brother. He went to the University of Edinburgh and he had to defend his thesis, and so I went to travel with him while he was, back there getting grilled, and I ran. It was December, and I think it was like low 30s, and I was like, I'm barely hanging on here.
Did you have the barefoot on? Like were you barefoot with them?
Yeah, I was barefoot with them.
Because that would be super cool. You got to get that sock.
Okay.
That's the secret.
I guess
you got to get the sock. Yeah.
I have socks. I just didn't wear them. That was foolish of me.
Now we know the secret.
Yes.
Secret. Todd's revealed it.
Okay, I'll do that.
Go back to running around Edinburgh, and
there you go. So Josh, I know we're kind of getting to the end here, and I just wanted to ask you, what are you looking forward to for the rest of the summer, or what's happening with Shama in the next 12 months? Anything you can reveal? Anything that we should keep an eye on? What's big in your world?
Right now it's just filling orders at the moment. We are so busy, I've thought about it again. I'm like, it probably wasn't the best day to sign up for the podcast. We should have done it in April or something, but it is what it is. We've just been, I'm going to ask everyone for patience. We're getting your orders out as quick as we can. Summer's just like a gut check where you just fill orders and, make sure that you're responsible to the customers. And that's like job one. But we have, I don't know how much I want to say, but we do have something pretty big coming up. It's not a new sandal, but it's a new part of the sandal that I think people are really going to be happy with. And but anyways, it's not going to change your experience, but I'm just going to be proud of doing it. I'll say it like that. So we've got that. We did some work on our logo and branding recently and our website. It's all updated. So I'm really happy about that. Like I mentioned, we're going to bring some of those minor changes over to Trailstar probably at the end of this season. And you can get them now with Trailstar Ibex. You can get the full experience. So those are things I'm happy about. And then I think maybe for next year, just marketing more, I guess more marketing. It's hard to do both. And, one always kind of lags behind the other, but I think marketing is the thing. I don't know what the next sandal is. There's not a new sandal on the horizon, but there'll be something at some point, and I'll just wait for it. When it happens, it'll happen.
Yeah. Well, if there's any markets that you want to get into, just let us know if there's a marathon that's happening there, and we'll just send Todd to get photos in front of whatever natural wonder of the world or something that's there.
Or walk it really fast.
Walk it really fast. Perfect. No, well, hopefully you guys get out to Santa Cruz at some point, the West Coast, and it'd be great to do some trail running with you guys, or run on the coast or whatever.
Be awesome.
We're going to take you up on that offer, and maybe I can relieve your father-in-law, give him a day off, and he can show me how to get the posts going. And I'm an engineer by background, so I could probably help out a little bit, or make stuff up, or mess stuff up even more. That's usually what engineers do pretty good. So
I'm sure you'd be a big help. But yeah, there's always plenty to do, and it'd be awesome to see you guys sometime, for sure.
Awesome. Well, always a pleasure, Josh. Yes.
We want to thank you. Thank you for the Pacific Avenues. They're fantastic. These are going to be my go-tos all summer. I like them because they're stylish with the leather. So you can go out. You know what? Gives that a little bit more stylish, more like sophistication.
Yeah. Well, you can fit into any, what's the word? Any barbecue situation, and no one will know you're minimalist now.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Send us a note. RunegadePodcast@gmail.com. That's RUNEGADE podcast@gmail.com. We'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. You can check out our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Remember, in a world of runners, be a renegade.